Alright everyone, today in possible fake news we have rumors circulating around DC that as soon as within a week Justice Kennedy may retire from the Supreme Court. He's 81, so he's on the older side. I would have thought though that Ruth Ginsburg would be the first to go. Now, do I think that he's actually retiring? I don't know. Some people are giving it like 50-50 odds. Even CNN, which a lot of people still consider credible, is saying that there are rumors among his actual staff that, yeah, he's going to call it quits. He's getting older. He wants to spend a few years just, you know, dicking around. He wants to go onto the beach and drink margaritas or something like that. Who can blame him after having to sit in D.C. for so long? I would think that by now, like, his nose would be all fucked up because he has to deal with the stench of the idiots around him. And Justice Kennedy is actually one of the more sane people who's sat on the Supreme Court lately. Like, I actually have some respect for Anthony Kennedy. He's usually a swing vote. He leans very slightly towards the left in some degrees and slightly towards the right in others. It seems like he almost has a little bit of a libertarian streak in him. So I respect him. I'd be sad to see him go, and also I think it'd be difficult to find a suitable replacement for him, because here's the problem. If a Supreme Court vacancy opens up right now involving essentially a swing justice, someone he's not way out in left field, he's also not really, he's not far right, who is Trump going to replace him with? See, the problem is this. It would cause a drastic amount of social alienation if he tried to put like another Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, if he tried to begin stacking the court with conservatives. He might also face enormous backlash if he does that when Ginsburg probably retires or becomes demented and incapacitated or keels over in the coming years because she's ancient as the sands of time. He may face an enormous amount of resistance. Including from some members of his own party, to be honest, if he tries to put yet another conservative on the Supreme Court. That would be even more difficult because she's left-leaning. With Anthony Kennedy, he could justify, oh, well, yeah, the court's not conservative enough, we're putting another far-righter on the Supreme Court. The problem is the neoconservatives within the Republican Party, well, they're not going to pressure him to put someone who's strong right on guns and free speech on the Supreme Court. They'll probably pressure him to put some Santorum-esque evangelical in that position to shore up their defense in some of the flyover states, maybe some of the southwestern areas that, you know, Arizona or something like that, that have been leaning more towards swing state status lately, or something along those lines. So it could turn into a shit show. Honestly, what he would need to do is he needs to find someone who's center-right at most, who has that same libertarian streak to replace Justice Kennedy. Is there anybody, I think, that can fulfill that role? I mean, are you going to put Ron Paul on the Supreme Court or something like that? While I think that would be a great idea, I don't think it's likely to happen. So I'm almost hoping that Anthony Kennedy doesn't retire, just holds out. I mean, he's 81, so I mean, he could keel over anyway. I'm hopeful that he won't retire, and that Ginsburg will be the next to go, so that someone who is way out there in left field can be replaced by a centrist. It would be a significant improvement. Trump should be waiting for justices who are really far right or far left to leave or keel over, so that he can replace them with people who have some semblance of sanity and judicial discretion. Anthony Kennedy, however, is one of the better justices that is served. So it would almost be a situation where how are you going to improve upon Justice Kennedy? I think he's a sane individual. I'm sure if I went back through all of the decisions that he's made, I'd find some to disagree with. But he's not far left. He's also not far right. That's kind of a difficult thing to replace. The Supreme Court, where you've got 3 justices who are fundamentally far left. You've got 4 justices that are fundamentally far right. And then you've got 2 justices who deliver all of the actual decisions because they're the swing voters. So those are important positions. Otherwise, you lose balance on the Supreme Court. What people should be hoping is that we get more people like Anthony Kennedy on the Supreme Court who are capable of crossing partisan loyalty. Because what it looks like is that you've got 3 justices who are basically partisan Democrats, who are further left than like the Clintonian neoliberals. 4 justices who resemble, again, maybe a fusion of John McCain's views of free speech and Rick Santorum's religious beliefs. And then you've got 2 sane individuals that have to prop everything else up. It's not a good place to be. Getting rid of Kennedy in favor of someone who's just a dedicated neocon or something like that, I don't think that would improve the Supreme Court at all. It might be an improvement on something like the Second Amendment. It might be an improvement upon religious liberty side of the First Amendment debate, but it would be a big loss in other aspects, maybe the rights of certain minority groups to function freely or something like that. So I think, I hope he doesn't retire. Unfortunately, they're saying there's about a 50-50 chance he will. I don't know, it's kind of hard to predict that because all you've got is rumors. Now, they're supposedly coming from his more important staff members that are saying, oh, well, we'll never see, this is the last time we're going to see him because next week he probably says, yeah, I'm calling it quits. But it's still just a rumor. I don't know whether those people can be taken seriously. It could be just Anthony Kennedy's idea of a joke. Till his staffers, oh yeah, I'm going to be retiring in a week. And then he chuckles, he gets like drunk over the weekend. He says, oh no, I don't want to call it quits. Trump is the president, or something like that. It's always a possibility. Some of these people, they love their practical jokes. They just look at John Cornyn. He's constantly trolling people around him. So I'm kind of hopeful he doesn't retire. Yeah, I know he can't live forever, but having someone who's sane on the Supreme Court, yeah, makes sense compared to stacking it with people like, you don't need more Scalias. You already had a Scalia, now you've got a Gorsuch. You don't need more Scalias. You need more Anthony Kennedys. I'm hoping that it'll be Ginsburg that goes next. Replace her with someone who's sane, like Anthony Kennedy. Wait until one or more of the far-right justices keel over, do the same thing. Why don't we have a Supreme Court that's capable of making independent, rational decisions instead of one that is heavily leaning towards the far left and the far right, and they make incoherent decisions because of that, and everyone's sort of hoping that the swing justices die, like Anthony Kennedy is gone, and so, now we can have a far-right court or a far-left court. And then you get half the country alienated by the judiciary. It goes past just whoever controls the House and Senate. The other side feels alienated. Whoever controls the presidency, the other side feels alienated. Now you would be going for the judiciary, the one group left that can deliver some semblance of speedy decision-making, at least in some cases. You don't have to agree with every decision that they've made. The Supreme Court, even after Obama's appointees, has made some fairly good decisions. We saw the decision with disparaging trademarks. We saw before that in the past, I believe before Roberts joined, we have like McDonald versus Chicago. It's been a more or less balanced court since that time, Sotomayor aside, and I think has done a fairly good job, all things considered. Considering the political pressure put on them, yeah, they've done an okay job. Yeah. And I say this, I understand judicial overreach, and increasingly it's coming from federal courts, not from the Supreme Court. I can understand Trump and his fans might think it would be a good idea to stack the court with conservatives. Not necessarily. It could be the death knell of your political movement as you cause enough social alienation to actually make the neoliberals sort of crumble and the left actually sort of renew itself. You could force yourself out of power by doing that, maintaining something a bit closer to the status quo, replacing Kennedy, who's maybe center-left slightly, with someone who's center-right slightly and has that same pro-liberty streak, I think would be a smarter decision. That's if he retires, though. It's still just a rumor. That's about all. Peace out.